want to build a login screen in Python that actually looks like a real app, in this tutorial, I will show you how to create a modern login form with Tkinter. So this will include, if you put your password here, as you can see, it will be able to hide or show the password, and also you will be able to also have a remember me feature so that you are able to just log right in. So it's beginner friendly, no frameworks, just pure Python and Tkinter. So let's get started and let's build together. All right, let's get started. So the first thing is we can just have our folder with our 2py files. So we have main.py, database.py. Yes, all right. So we're going to be working with Tkinter, and as a database, we're going to be using SQLite. All right, so let's get building. So firstly, let's start to work with our database first. So let's import SQLite. So this is a Python built-in module to interact with SQLite databases. All right, and then now let us create a function that will help us to set up the database and ensure the users table exists. All right, so what are we doing here? So firstly, with this line here, we connect the database file named users.db. And then after that, what we do is now we create a cursor to execute the SQL commands. So now let's create the users table with username and password columns. All right, so now that we've done that, we have saved, right? That's what commit means. So we save the changes to the database, and then with close, that is when we close the connection to the database. Amazing. So now let us add a function that adds a new user to the database. All right, so what have we done now? So we have opened the connection once again to the same database, and now we have created a cursor again. Now let's attempt to insert the user name and also the password into the user table. Let's make this a bit bigger so that no code is hidden. Commit to save the changes. Then we return true if it is successful. So there is an error that usually occurs if the username already exists. So that is what we can be able to return in this case. So return. All right, so let's just view our line numbers. It makes it easier to see where we're at. So what we have done now is we are attempting here to insert the username and the password into the user table. And now what we've done is we have committed the changes, so we save the changes, and of course we return true if successful. However, if not, we can be able to catch the error. Yes, and then return false, and then finally we commit everything. So finally, let us now create a function that checks if the username or the password they match each other. Let's just copy this so that we are quicker. So once again, what do? We open the database connection, same database, and then we create a cursor. And now let us search for a user that matches the provided username and password, which we will type. All right, so just to explain, so what we've done here is we are now searching for the user that matches the provided username and password. And here what we are doing is we are fetching one record, none if no match is found. Then we close the connection, and then here we return true if user is found, false otherwise. All right, so we have everything in order in terms of our database. Now let's finally go on to the GUI design. All right, now that our database is ready, let's jump straight into it. All right, so firstly, we will begin by importing Tkinter as TK. So we have to import Tkinter to build our GUI. And then after that, let's import a few things. Let's also import Tkinter messagebox. So this will be for showing pop-up messages like alerts. Now, since we have our database already, let's go on and import the database functions. From database import db add user validate user. Okay, we've imported all the functions. Let's make sure the database and user tables are initialized. Now let us create the main window of our GUI. So just to explain, so we have set up our title, our window title, and now we have also set up our window size. This is the width and this is the height. And we have now set up our background color as well. So this is what BG stands for there. And then now we have disabled the resizing of the window. So let's go on now and start the GUI event loop by root main loop. Now let's run the code. If no error, everything should work nicely. Okay, amazing. So far, so good. All right, so now that that is in order, what we can do is now, let's think about what we can create. Maybe let's define some few variables that will help us with storing some important information. So we need to store the username. We also need to store the password as well. So let's define some few variables. So username, first variable, we can just call it username variable, and it can be a tk string variable. And then we'll also need a password. Also making it a string variable. And then we'll need to show the password as well. And then we'll also need a remember me. Okay, so in this case, we're storing the username as text. The password will also store it as text. And when it comes to the showing of the password, that can be true or false for showing the password. And lastly, we can just have a check box as well, true or false for the checkbox that we're gonna use. So now let us work on a few important functions that will help us. So the first function, let's make a function to check the username and also the password using the validate user. Now let's copy this. Let's do the same for the password. Get. So now if validate user, login successful. So what we're doing here is that this function calls for the database. It calls the function from the database, right, to validate the user. And if we can see, okay, wait, the user is there, we show a pop-up that says successful login. And then of course, if the user's info is not on the database already, we can then have the opposite pop-up. Let's just copy this. So now the info that can be showed is an error. So show error. Maybe we can just say failed. Invalid user name or password. So this can be the error message. Right. So if then you put in new information, then what you want to do is we want to save that new information into the database. So we can have register. Let's go on and just copy this. So to register the name and the password, if add user password. So this is to register. So if registration is successful, right? So we're gonna add the user into the database. So let's go on then and show a message if it's successful. In this case, you can just say success, user registered. User registered. Yeah. Okay, and what if what if the registration is not successful? Then we can just have an error message. Show error message, we can just say error. User already exists. Okay, yeah, so I think we're all good now. We're all good. Yeah, we're all good. So now let's finally work more now on our layout. I believe that's what we want to see, right? You want to see the layout. So to do that, firstly, let's work with the title. So we're going to be using a label. Root text. Let's just call it login. The font that you're going to be using. Let's just stay to Arial. Feel free to use your own style. Arial 18. Let's make it bold. Now let's give it a background. Let's stick to the same colors. Okay. I think we're all good. Let's just check if everything is good. Okay, everything is good. As you can see, now we have our login there. All right, so now let's have our username login label. Okay, so this is the title. Right. Now let's have our username login. Let's make this in fact a bit bigger. Not too big, just let's remove this, it's distracting since we won't need the database anymore. Okay, and let's also show the line numbers as well here. All right, so now let's work on the username label entry. Tkinter label root text user username background. Let's keep it the same. Whoa. And let's also have where one can enter their information. Okay, all right. Let's go on and check that. Okay, amazing. Now we have our username here, where you can type the username. Okay, amazing. Now let's do the same thing for the password as well. Yeah, let's do the same thing. So I just copied everything. Then you can just edit it. Password. So for the password, Tkinter label. So we're just going to change the text here to password. Let's keep the background the same. Yeah, let's keep everything else the same. And then in terms of entry, we can yeah, let's keep everything the same. And then let's just edit here. Yeah, maybe let's just change this. Instead of just Tkinter entry, let's make it password entry. Yeah, password entry. In fact, let's just remove this entry. Yeah. Tkinter entry root text variable. In this case, it's a password. Let's change, since we don't want to see the password, so let's say show asterisk, because we don't want to show the password as you're typing it. Rather, we just want to see it only when we actually press the show me the password button. Right, so I think everything is fine. Yeah, so let's go on and check if everything is okay. Okay, yeah, everything is fine. So when we type, now we see the asterisk. We don't see the actual password. So if we don't put this here, you'll still be able to see your password. So that's why we do that. All right, and then now let's go on and put in our check box, our show password checkbox. How do we do that? Show password checkbox. So remember, toggle button. So I'm using a check button. So using a check button. Show password variable. Show password. Let's keep the background the same. Command. Maybe let's just make pad x 30 and pad y maybe 5. Okay, let's go on and check that out. It is cold, so I think I might be having my own typo errors here. Okay, toggle password not defined. Oh yes, let's go fix that. Maybe let's put it here. I actually forgot to define this, that I didn't define this. So what we need to do is, this is very important. So in order to show or hide the password based on the checkbox, there's actually a function for that. So just toggle password. Firstly, we will use an if statement. So if the checkbox is checked, then we want to call a certain function. So let's say if show password, right? So if the password get, so if the checkbox is checked, what we want to do is we want to show the password. So we want to get the password, right? Yes, and show it. And where do we want to show it? We want to show it in our password entry. So we have password entry here, right? So just want to show it there, password entry. Config show. So this will allow us to show the password as a plain text. Else, meaning when now the checkbox is unchecked, what do we do? Let's just copy this. When it's unchecked, what do we show? We go back to showing the asterisk. Let's just do that. So this is based on whether the checkbox is checked or not. Okay, let's run that. All right, yeah. Okay, so now when we check, let's see here. Let's just restart this. Yeah, so I see where the error is coming from. Yeah, so I think, let me see. Yeah, I think here, yeah, we can't put peg here because it will just return none. So we just need to password entry. Yeah, so if we do it like this, yeah, it should be fine. Let's check. So we put in our username, password, then we say show. Okay, amazing. Now it's working. Now it's working fine. Yes, we're almost there. So now let us go on and work on our remember me checkbox. So let's also copy this as well. And then let's just say remember me checkbox. So let's just change some few things. For one, let's just change this into remember. Okay, so it's still a check button, so we can keep that the same. Let's just say here variable. So the variable that we'll call here is remember me. So it's this variable here, right, that we defined here. Yeah, we'll call that. Let's keep the background the same. Yeah, let's just keep the background the same. Yeah, we don't need this command anymore. Yeah, let's keep that the same. And then let's pack anchor x. Let's just have x this time. Okay, all right, let's go ahead and check that as well. Oh, wait a minute. Let's change this. Okay, let's go ahead and run that. Okay, it's looking good. So now we have yeah, we have the show me password and also the remember me. So finally, now let's have the login and the register buttons at the bottom. So we can just our buttons for login or registration. Okay, so Tkinter button root text. Let's just have the text as simple as possible. Login command login the width. Okay, let's give it a nicer color. Ooh, almost made an error there. Okay. Background color, foreground color. Let's make it standard font. Okay, now that we have our our login button, let's also have our register button. So let's just change the text to register. The command in this case is register. So whenever we say command, so we are basically calling a function. So whenever we say command, we are calling the function that we defined already here. So we are only working with 3 functions today, which is just to log in, which checks our details and compares them to the table that we have. Yeah, so that's what we're doing. Right, yeah, so we register. Let's keep everything the same, maybe just the color, just changing the color. Okay, yeah, everything is fine. Let's just pack it here. All right, let's go run it. All right, we are good. We are good. There we go. There we go. This is it. This is the final product. Yeah. So what do? We have our login system now. We put in our code, right? Sorry, our username, like we are code slice, and then we put in our password 1 2 3 4 5. Right. We log in, and as you can see, invalid user or password because we haven't registered yet. Yeah, so what we do is we basically register. So now we are registered. Yes. So if now we try to log in, as you can see, it's a successful login. Yeah. We can also put the show me where we can be able to see the password. So now we can see the password. And let's go on and rerun this. Code slice 1 2 3 4 5. Let's username failed. So it's also case sensitive as well. Login successful, as you can see, case sensitive. Amazing. All right. Okay, and then let's try to log in. Amazing, successful. Okay, what else can we try? So we have code slice, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Register again. User already exists. Alright, so that is how you make a modern login form with Tkinter. Please do subscribe for more tutorials like this, and please do let me know on the chat box what it is that you'd like us to cover in the future tutorials. Thank you.